We made it. Hey, we are here
Hi.
today with Charlotte Irwin for our third session of an incredibly inspiring story of what she has created based on the different path she's been giving and the opportunities that she's asked and took the necessary steps to options and creating choices for herself and her family. And so this is session 3. So if you missed the first session, she shared on how a situation came to be from her precious aunt, giving her an opportunity to work for a corporation. And so she chose in as a janitor and she worked her way up to an incredible position and then had an amazing massage, and everything changed from there, that she added education to become a massage therapist while working full time and taking care of her 5 children. And now we are here at the session 3 when she made that leap. So do you want to do like a little bit of a recap for somebody who's just kind of joining us here and then, being able to share that leap of faith?
Yeah. Well, and you're right. It all began, with a large corporation. Just grateful, that I had a job. I was a single mom with 5 kids, and I desperately needed something. I was holding on like 2 or 3 jobs, just to make ends meet. And when my aunt at least got me the job at GM, I was just so grateful because, I had a regular job, benefits, that sort of thing. So after that, it was just really caring about things. And luckily, they were grateful with that and they kept promoting me to bigger and better jobs. So, that was a really good part of my life because it gave me the security to raise my kids. So I was grateful for that. But, after, 18 years of working really hard, I heard that some of the departments in the uh, corporation won't be anymore because they were going to contract everything out if you weren't working for the car company. And that led me to ask the question, what would I do if I wasn't working for GM? And it was my whole life. But I kept pondering about it and I thought, well, I'll go back to school. And I did. I went to Wayne State for a short term. And I was so stressful, I ended up getting the massage. And it was such a good experience for me that I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So, I ended up quitting Wayne, eventually quitting GM, and becoming a massage therapist. And at that point, uh, I decided that, I would try my best. The kids were kind of moving out of the house, they were all in college. So that kind of worked out for me, and I ended up selling my house and decided that I would use that money to get started. In case, business was slow, I would have something to back me up. So I did that. And, what we talked about last time was this universe in motion. When you're supposed to be doing what you're doing, so many things show up in your life if you watch for them. You have to watch, but people would come and help me. And, you know, uh, my experience in Hawaii was amazing. And I don't think I never thought that I would even go through anything like that. But I knew it was a spiritual quest. I was on a spiritual initiation to really discover me. And all the years of what I went through before, uh, some were traumatic, some were just okay. But any divorce is traumatic, no matter what, whether it's good or friendly or whatever. It's a big change in a woman's life, especially because I never worked, so I have to start from 0 point. So anyway, I had to really rediscover myself and who I was and what I was doing on the planet and what would give me the most joy. And certainly the massage was a big part of that. And when I was in massage school, I did see a vision of a place where everybody was working different things, acupuncture, massage, and different modalities. And it was so real to me. And I always kept that in my mind. And then as I kept it in my mind, the story went, I was offered a free space to do my work and to pay this fella that I met if I did anything or don't pay him if I didn't. So it was like, wow, that was really something that appeared. So anyway, I ended up at 11 and Hoover with this 1,500 square foot space. People started showing up. I never put an ad in the paper. They all wanted a sublease space from me. So they did. And that paid most of the rent. And eventually I totally quit jam and stayed there at Hoover and 11 and worked full time. And in the meantime, the business just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger. More people were coming. And then every time I would go to Hawaii, my vibration was up higher. I would come home and we would get busier. So eventually I moved to a bigger space on 18 and Van Dyke, and we were there for 19 years. And we just kept getting busier and busier, doing the best that we could to build a business. Again, people showed up wanting to rent space, so that helped while we were getting, full bloom into the massage therapy. So we were there 19 years, and um, we did everything we could to make it work. But the therapists that were there, it certainly was their purpose too, because that energy showed, because we kept getting busier and busier. So after 19 years, we were told that they're um, destroying the building for a parking lot. And this car place next door bought everything. So we had to leave. So I started looking for a new place and I found this place. It was called Spirit Forge. And it just attracted me, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's where I should go. And so I went and looked, and sure enough, I ended up making a deal with the landlord to rent the space. And I wasn't sure. It was a 6,000 square foot building. And I thought, that's a lot. It's big. But I told the real estate guy, I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this. And he told me, he said, Charlotte, you went through the worst of the economy when most businesses were failing and you made it through. So don't worry, you're going to make it. And we did. We've been there now, what, uh, 12 years or so. We've been in business 30 years. So I have no fear about it. Whatever it happens, it's in God's hands. I mean, God has had a hand in this since the get go. So there's no reason for me to worry. If things change or whatever happens, it's supposed to. And I really believe that. And I will deal with that, when that comes. We went through COVID. We were down for 4 months. We lost an awful lot of money. We're just trying, like most businesses right now, to still come back from COVID. Even as long as it's been, it was a real hit. And when you take a real hit like that in business, it takes a long time, to bring that back. So, like most businesses that are up and still trying, we're doing the same. We're trying to keep afloat, keep the business going, and see what happens. But I got to tell you, I wake up every day and thank God that we're doing what we're doing. We feel blessed. We go month to month, we make the rent, we make our bills, and we keep, 10 or 12 therapists employed. We see a lot of people, every month. So we try to keep, hopefully those people keep coming back. I have clients that I've seen for 25 years. Yeah, it's been awesome. It's awesome for them to come into the center and say, "Oh my God, I knew you when you started in your house."
Right.
Because I did for a couple months and then I moved.
Your
But
humble beginnings, having people see your humble beginnings is such
yeah,
an honor to see how it progresses. And I think that's the part too that's so inspiring for small businesses, because it's those incremental moments, spots, like the moves, those different places that you feel to know
mhm,
that, you keep going and having doors automatically closed and still coming back to open the door again and saying, we're gonna figure this out,
yep,
and when
right.
you're focused on serving and adding value, it's such a blessing because it's
And
it's
yeah, and I think that's one of the most important things is adding value, to a person's life. So we do our best to make them feel better. And if I go back to the first video, when I told you I feel the only reason I kept getting promoted was because I cared. So going forward, it's been the same thing for 30 years. We just care about our clients. It's not that they just come in and get a massage and leave. It's that we really care about how their life is going. We do follow-up calls, and if they need something, we try to find that resource for them, whether it's a supplement or, a doctor referral, or we had a psychologist working with us. So, if they needed counseling, they were there to help them, that sort of thing. So, I think that that's probably the most important thing in any business is that you care. So, I don't know if I told you this when I went to Myers. There's always this guy I think on Tuesdays, and he stands by the door. He's a greeter, right? And he's not an old guy. I say he's in his late 40s, maybe. So anyway, I went there last week and I used the rider, right? So I walk in the store with my cane, and he's there with the rider, and I'm looking at him. He said to me, "I saw you coming." I know. That's what I did. That's what I did. I went, "Oh my God." I mean, he cares,
oh, oh my gosh, I
and
have the chills. I have the chills in the space in which he chose into his job that day. He 100% chosen not to just
right,
stand there and
right,
you know, like, he chose in to say, oh, let me do something with you and for you.
right. And he's the only one. I mean, I've gone into Myers hundreds of times. You're right. And there's always a greeter there, but hi, okay. I mean, that's the difference between somebody really special and
Mhm,
caring and somebody doing their job.
mhm.
He goes
100%.
beyond, so I am writing a letter. I'm trying to find out his name, from one of the other greeters so that I can write a letter to Myers and tell him how I feel about that.
Ah, I
Uh,
love it.
because it's so special.
It
These acts of kindness are what we're all about. One day I was putting groceries in the car. Some guy just walked up to me and said, "Can I help you?" And I thought, wow, isn't that sweet? I
ah,
mean, just out of the blue, and I I could do it, but I couldn't take that away from him. You know what I mean? I couldn't take that gesture away because he was so kind to do, to want to do it. I said, "Oh yeah, of course you can help me."
I love it. I
So
love it. Lori just taught your Lori. And so for everybody's watching, as a recap, if you don't know, Lori Love Jones was mentored by Charlotte here in Michigan before she moved to Nashville, Tennessee. And so Lori introduced me to Charlotte here in Michigan. when she came back to visit her family, we got to, get together. And it is so incredibly precious to learn and something from Lori. And she's like, oh, that was Charlotte. Oh, that was Charlotte. And I'm like, oh, so she taught the other day about using our ask muscle, not what we sit on, our ask muscle. And although you
Mhm.
didn't ask for the help, he asked you
Right.
for an opportunity. And you, like you said, you could have said, oh, I'm good. I'm all set. I've done this 1,000 times. And you
Exactly.
said,
Right.
okay. So then the blessing was a double blessing to you for the joy that you
Mhm.
felt someone seeing and honoring. And for that service that he gave you, he walked away feeling different because he spoke up and he did something that he knew that was a blessing. Like that,
Right.
just like that. I love that infinity loop and how that happens. And it starts with an ask. And,
Right.
he asked in and you allowed, you received, and that became a double blessing.
Exactly. So this random acts of kindness
Mm.
are so important. I know that we can do things for people. I mean, we do them all the time, but when they're a random act of, just seeing something, that needs to be done, like a person not being able to reach something on the shelf,
Mm.
and somebody comes up and says, "Can I get that for you?" Or, somebody, I was driving my car a few months ago and I got a flat tire. I finally was able to make it to the gas station, but the air was broke. So there I was, stuck. And this young fella comes up to me and says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I have a flat tire." He said, "Well, let me see. I can help you change it." So he took the, small tire out and he couldn't get the bolts loose. He couldn't do it. They were on so tight, they couldn't do it. So here is this guy that comes in a truck and he stops and he says, "What's going on?" I said, he can't get the bolts off to change the tire. He said, "Well, let me try." So he gets out of the truck. He's like a contractor and he loosens the bolts, stays there, helps the guy change the tire, put everything back, and says, "Okay, you're on your way." And I said, "Well, can I pay you guys?" And he goes, "No, no, you're not paying us." So they both, I said, "Well, you didn't know that you were heroes today, because you are,
Right.
you know." And I thought, there's so many times that people just pass people by,
Mhm.
and they don't think that they should be the ones to help. And that's really sad, really sad. So now I've become better at watching, where if somebody needs help or is having a hard day, or, you know, uh, just anything, give them a hug, just talk it out a little bit, or just be there for them. That's what's important in life. And really, it's almost the only thing that's important is how we treat each other. So, that it was pretty awesome. But those experiences are there to teach us, to become more thoughtful. Because if one person can do it, everybody can do it,
Oh,
you
the
know?
ripple effect. The ripple effect
Right?
is such a treasure.
Yeah.
I've
And
really worked on if I see something, I say something. And my kids have really gotten used to this because now if I do miss something, one of them will say, Mom, are you going to compliment her or him? And
wow.
just recently I was with Lucy and we had left the building and we came out a different door. So we were passing another door of people coming out. And you know how that adjustment is when you kind of pause and somebody kind of comes in front of you and you're still going this way, but you need to pause as they walk by. Well, this
Mhm.
woman was so strikingly just, she was glowing. She was absolutely glowing. She had this like white blouse on with this cream colored vest, and it had kind of
Mhm.
a, some of those that have that really cool kind of hood, but it kind of is fluffy
Uh-huh.
back. I mean, she looked like a goddess, like an emperor, empress, whatever, you know, just like came out and the light shining. And I was just like, my God, you are absolutely beautiful. And she's like, oh, thank you. And, you know, as she's walking by, we're walking and I look at her again and I'm like, were you and Mary Kay? Like, and she's like, Maggie, Seatar? And it was like, you know, like from the light, I really couldn't totally make out her face. She just had this aura about her. And I said something, and then here we are, we know each other, and it's been, I mean, like I was literally trying to figure out like the last time I might have seen or worked with her, and it was probably 15 years. Like, and she did
Wow.
not look like she had aged a minute. Yet I hadn't worked with her often. It was like at meetings here and there, like, you know, maybe a couple times a year, not like, you know, regular.
Right.
So it was just the sweetest moment. As we walked away, Lucy was like, well, you don't you don't remember her name? And I was like, I remember her face. You know, when I finally that moment when she was walking by and I was like, oh, I know you. But when I complimented her, it just literally like came out without a thought. And it's such an
Mhm.
honor when you have the chance to say what you see with no
Yeah, right.
expectations whatsoever. It can be the greatest blessings. And I think what I really work nowadays, especially when it comes to service, because I've waited tables, I've worked retail, I've done all those jobs that I do really believe firmly that it should be a prerequisite for graduating high school. That you have to wait
Yeah,
tables,
exactly.
do
Yeah.
retail, bartend, do the service, the true heart of service, so that you can
Mhm.
be respectful on the other side. Because there, you know, especially when it comes to retail, and I was just telling Lori this the other day, that I've worked now because I know that our love languages are different: physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, and quality time. And taking the extra second, if I feel, and sometimes I'm wrong because I have to apologize, that I'll touch somebody's arm in retail, like, thank you for your service. I appreciate your excellent help or your excellent attention, or, you know what I mean? Like, very soft. And there's a couple times where I'm like, I clearly just invaded that person's space and their love language has nothing to do with physical touch. And I do apologize because you can kind of see
Right.
somebody, you know, I remember back in the day when I would hug somebody and they would be like, and I'm like, I'm sorry, your love language is not physical touch. I need to back
Right.
off. But
That's why it's good to ask,
it is. And
to give
sometimes
you a
I'm,
hug. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
a hug is way different, but that like little touch of like letting somebody know. And I
Right.
really, sometimes I realize how off I am when I miss things and or I
Mhm.
go by and and sometimes I've gone all the way back awkwardly. I'm like, just a minute. My kids are like, oh, great. What'd we miss? And I'm like, but
Right.
it really centers yourself when you realize there's so much more out there happening. And
Right.
yeah,
And I have to confess that I never did that before. There was years that, I just did what I did, got up in the morning, went to work and, did what I was supposed to do, go home, cook dinner, spend some time with the kids, go to bed, do the same thing the next day. I I did that for many years. It wasn't until after my training that I started really thinking about, you know, the things that I used to do compared to what I do now. I mean, I would never talk to a stranger before, never. But
Mhm.
now I'm okay. Like, how you doing today? And it feels so good to get out of that shell and out of that. So what if they don't say anything?
Yep.
So
It's okay.
what? I said it,
It's okay.
or just like you said to the woman, he's so beautiful. Okay, but she either takes it or she doesn't. That's
Yep.
okay. Thanks for go away or not. It
Yeah.
doesn't
No
matter.
expectations. No
Right,
expectations. Yeah.
right. And that's the part that I feel really good about is that I've been able to, we all do it with people we're comfortable with, or I do it with
Yeah.
my clients, but I never did it with strangers, or standing in line in the grocery line. I never talked to anybody. now I do, now I say, how's your day? Or, something, like that. And, up conversation. And there's so many people when I'm in line, they go, oh, can I help you? You know, can I help
Oh,
you take out the groceries? It's amazing. It's just amazing.
it
But
is.
it's all that vibrational attraction that happens. And trust me, I keep working on it. It's like I'm not this really high vibrational person, but I keep working on that so that, someday I can be, or I hope to be, higher. Just keep going a little higher, a little higher. We all have, challenges in life. I mean, some people deal with shame and guilt and lots of different negative emotions, and they don't stop it. They don't.
They don't leave it. They don't leave it
Yeah,
and
they
let it
don't leave
go.
it. They
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep it. Sometimes I'll ask people, and when did this happen? They say, oh, 5 years ago. I say, oh my God, you're still thinking about it?
Hmm.
And that's true. They're still holding on to it. Um, I'll tell you a kind of a cute story. I thought that one of my massage therapists, it was kind of a betrayal thing for me when I first started. And I thought, so I let her go. But every time somebody would mention her name, because she was kind of in my circle, I would get this funny feeling. And I knew that I couldn't get over it because I kept getting this funny feeling when somebody would mention her name, right? So I would go into forgiveness work, you know, all the time, trying to let it go, trying to let it go. And I really thought I had it done. So Louise Hay had an event at Church of Today, 3,000 women. Who do you think was sitting in my seat? Yes. And you know what? I still got that funny feeling. So I knew that I had not done enough work. So I thought, okay, I got to go back, and I got to do more work. So I did, I kept digging deeper, peeling the onion. It wasn't about her. It was about me. I know that, but I couldn't figure out why I couldn't let it go till I kept on doing deeper work, deeper work. And finally, I felt that I had. And then she called me for a massage. And I did the most
Come
loving
on.
massage that
Seriously?
I could think of. Yeah,
That
seriously.
is
And
incredible.
then I did the most loving massage I could. And then after that, I never saw her again.
Oh my
And
God.
I thought, okay, because once you clear something like that, usually you're healed. And the person that is showing you that doesn't show up anymore. It's very cool because that's why they showed up in the first place.
You know what? That brings me back to, I think it was in the first, I know you've said it before to me, but then I think it was in session one when I interviewed you, when that gentleman came to you and asked your advice about how to handle his boss at work and how
Mm-hmm.
he would go
Okay.
home and hit the punching bag
Right.
and like, at his boss. And you said, why don't you take a picture of yourself? Because
Right.
you're adding this to yourself. And I think of that so often, and that's such a great example that you are like, what is this harboring me? And it's really great that you would say that because I was standing in line recently, um, and I looked ahead and I thought it was somebody who had some really horrible, horrible things that she said to me over, I think it was a year ago. And I didn't even respond, which is not like me because the way she was attacking me, it was almost like, are you sure you're messaging the right person? Because I didn't know, like I never had any interaction. So whatever she said or thought, I was like, I can't even dispute because I don't even know what you're talking about. Like it literally felt like it was really a very odd situation. And yet, based on our relationship, we didn't really have a relationship to save. And so I prayed and prayed and I was like, okay, do I respond? Do I call her? I'm old school. Like I'd normally just pick up the phone and thought, but is there something here to save? And so when thought I saw her in line, I literally said to myself, I think I need to do some more work because it wasn't, it was literally my stomach dropped and I was just
Right. That's
like,
how you know.
and it was one of those where it wasn't like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. But it was more
Right.
like, ugh. And I
Yeah.
was like,
That's
uh-oh,
how you know.
I need to do some more work on that because it's not cleared, like you said, because it wasn't,
Right.
it gave me a negative feel, so it dropped my energy down. And I
Right.
literally in that moment was like breathing, praying. And I mean, it wasn't her, but even if it was,
Right. I know.
I recognized,
It's absolutely, absolutely. And she wasn't about betrayal. She showed me betrayal so that I could heal it from a former marriage, right? So
mm,
it was so cool when I kept peeling the onion and not taking it personally from her. I just took it that she's showing me something, so I have to work on it. And it happens all the time. Don't think, people think that monks and other people, they're so spiritual that so much happens to them. And they do, and it's purposeful that it happens because it's like the world is showing them how they need to get better,
mhm.
or how they need to heal all of this subconscious stuff that we carry around for a lifetime. So it's so cool to keep peeling that onion every time something happens negative in your life. Don't look at it as negative. Look at it like, wow, I got to look at that. I got to see what's going on. And it may come up nothing, it may, no, that's not me. Or, there was a time, not maybe right now, but there may have been a time 20 years ago that I hurt somebody or said something that hurt somebody, that kind of thing. So, yeah, we all have a lot of work to do, and it has to be a daily thing to keep your vibration at least somewhat um, happy, and excitable, and uh, just have this feeling of, yeah, I want to get up in the morning. I like it around me. I'm happy and I'm blessed, and all of that. So that's what makes it happen. That's what makes it happen when every day you think about, okay, what was yesterday like? Was I kind? Did I say something to someone? Um, did I hurt someone's feelings? Did I say the wrong thing to someone, or did I act cruel to someone? That sort of thing. And every time that comes up for you, you get to clear it. It's so cool.
We
It's
have
so cool.
that
Yeah,
choice. And I think it's a choice and a responsibility. And that
right.
responsibility that
It
some
is.
people are unwilling to take. And yet that repeat, like you said, it's that repeat, another, the ask muscle and the responsibility muscle. It's strengthening that space and like, oh, another
Right.
time to choose in, another time to do a little deeper work. And yeah, well,
Hmm.
I do have a couple of quick questions for you. I guess I don't need to
Hmm.
say quick, but um, in this space, I know that you said before, and it was so good when you said it, the understanding that you could have taken a buyout from corporate to, have some significant money in the bank and lots of different financial choices that you chose out of because you knew the vision of your business would be different based on your authenticity of,
Hmm.
choosing. So how did you maneuver that space? Because that is huge, especially knowing that you were a single mom. You had plenty of
Hmm.
responsibilities. Was it your faith, your trust, your all of the
Yeah,
thing? I mean,
absolutely.
all of it?
Yeah, all of it. If I would have stayed, I would have gotten a buyout, but I didn't stay. That's why I didn't get the buyout. Not that they offered it to me, but if I would have stayed, they were offering buyouts like the following year or whatever. But I couldn't wait. I was too excited about what I was going to do with my life, and that's why I sold my house.
Mhm.
Mainly to put that money in a bank account to carry me till I could really kind of get going. And that's not an easy thing to do. It was a little difficult letting that go. I mean, we all love our houses and we feel secure in
Material
them,
possessions.
but yeah, it's like, okay, don't be attached.
Yeah.
Don't be attached to it. You're gonna find a place. And years later, I bought another house. So, you know, it all comes around, when you do what you're supposed to be doing, it does come around so that you can have what you want anyway, but as long as you're not attached, that okay, I can do this right now, but okay, I'm going to do this because I want to do this, and then eventually you can have whatever you want again because you're doing what you want to do, right? And that's a biggie. But attachments are big for people. They can't give their stuff up. It's hard. I mean, I've given a lot of stuff up, but there's some things I can't. I can't yet, like special things that people gave me. I want to hold on to them because they mean so much to me, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, if I really had to let it go, I would. And,
Exactly.
my daughter's building a house, and eventually I'm going to be moving up to Traverse City. And I know that I have to get rid of a lot of stuff. So it'll be a good practice for me, to give up all my stuff. So yeah, I can do it then, but for a little while I'll hold on to it.
Well,
But
I learned about Marie Kondo and I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She is like an organizer
mhm,
and she comes in and I didn't, I think there was a series. I know she's written a book. I've only seen pieces, yet the one piece I saw, and it's been quite a long time ago, but it's so good. And literally I had to work on Declan yesterday, not having school, for some things in his room. And what she taught was when you take something and you like, I don't have, well, like she took her closet and she took an item from her closet and asked herself, how's this make me feel? Right? So like, is it
right.
something that you put on and you're like, I'm a
Yeah.
shoulders high, I'm like, oh, or is it that item where you're like, "Ah, it's so itchy, it's tight, it's uncomfortable, like asking how it makes you feel, number one. Number two, that was so powerful is that then she would do something with it. Like it went to her closet, kept it, especially when you move, you have to decide what you're going to take with you. If she's going to dump it, some of the items that we have are pretty dingy and like, they don't need to be donated. They needed to be donated to the garbage. Or
Right.
if it's something we sell or give away. And that
Hmm.
process, and that's what I was working on Declan for a process. He just wanted to put everything in my laundry basket. And I was like, sweetheart, was that a good choice? That like that was a laundry basket that's used very often, like now you need to make decisions for those items. Are they all
Hmm.
garbage? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, next step, decide. So that decide part is challenging, but it was so good to see whatever item that was to say, how does it
Right.
make me feel? Keep it, and have a place for it, sell or dump it or do something with it, whether you sell it because it has value or give it away. And that was like, sometimes those decisions can be heavy. So maybe you just
Yeah.
do a couple a day, you know what I mean? Like depending on timing and I think that that gave me such a different outlook and a treasure for really understanding the significance of those things you're talking about, like some of those things that have been passed on and given that are so like this is so sweet. This was a gift. It says being happy never goes out of style. Declan gave it to me 2 years, maybe 3 years. I should have dated it. I did not date it, did I? For Christmas, and it's when they did those dollar store shopping at school. I'm sure it was a dollar,
Uh,
maybe two.
yeah.
And it has fallen off my desk and broken more times than I can admit. Yet it's what means like he saw it, thought of me. So this will be forever on my desk for the amount
Right.
of glue that I can add to it because there's so much more meaning to it. And that
Right.
you know what I mean? So those significance and being able to have those treasures of memories and what they mean. And
Right. Just there's nothing wrong with little treasures.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there
You just
really
have to
isn't.
decide how many you can take with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or
So,
nowadays, you could even take a picture of them and put them in one of those, what do they call it? Like Shutterfly books, like all those
oh
memories.
yeah, right.
That could be all in one place. So you could take that with
Mhm.
you and reflect. Yeah. So,
Right.
so good.
Right.
And my last question, because I could, of course, be asking you a million questions for days on end. Um, what would you say when you made that decision, that big leap of leaving behind your corporate job, you sold your house and you created this new opportunity, was there a guiding force that you would say, or something specific that you did daily to keep you going? Because that path was so, like, very much unknown because it wasn't anything you had done before. Where corporate wise is unknown, but yet you kind of know, like, well, you could go here. And it sounds like even in then, like the structure of titles or positions, you kind of went off the grid. So
You're
you're
right.
used to going off the grid, but when you're creating your own business, it's like dirt road. So
Right.
was there something specific that you
If I
continued?
could think, if I could think of one word, it would be surrender.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
that's what I did. You know, that's the only thing I totally surrendered to God and said, if you want me to do this, then you put the past together and I'll do it. And I just kept doing that every day. I just kept surrendering to a higher power um, because I knew that I was in charge. One day when we first opened up, I mean, the books were kind of empty, you know, and the phone wasn't really ringing. And I went, oh dear. And then this guy walked in. I was sitting at the desk and he came up and he said, I'd like to buy 10 gift certificates. And I went, okay. And so I asked him what his name was and he said, Michael. And I thought he had to be an angel, you know, he had to be Archangel Michael that did that because he just walked in out of the blue, you know, and gave us enough money, you know, for that whole day, for that whole week, actually. Uh, and I never, ever, after that day, I never looked at the appointment book again
mhm.
in that way. I never looked at it. I whatever was going to happen, it wasn't up to me. And I really, really knew that. You know, there's a difference between thinking it and knowing it. And I knew that I was protected. I knew that some way, somehow, it was going to work out. It was because I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And there was no buts about it. So after that, it just kept growing, growing, growing. But I'll never forget that day. Never. And
Mm.
then all of a sudden, you know, a short time later, the phone started ringing and, you know, people started coming. And, you know, now the phone never stops. And that's a good thing.
Oh, such a good thing. Such a
Yeah.
blessing. So tell
Right.
me, okay, so this might be personal. Um, and I'm sure you're not surprised by this. So in that surrender, I think this is the part where I know, oh, this is vulnerable. I know that surrender, I know, like letting it happen. Yet it's also managing, and this is my greatest one of my greatest challenges. My first Bible study, I'll never forget. Years and years and years. I probably should look up exactly I how many years ago it was. It was a long time ago, good or bad. And I was in this Bible study and I said, "Well, I like to think of myself in as, the driver and Jesus is the co-pilot." And the little ladies around me were like, hee 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 hee. And I was like, what's so funny? And they're like, they're so graceful, just like, wait till she figures out that she's not the driver. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah,
I wanted to slide into the control of like, I got you,
right,
I'm good, you want to help? Okay.
for
So
sure.
in that surrender, do you have suggestions for staying completely surrendered? Like, I know there's a do, like when people say, well, I'll pray about it. And then sometimes I'm like, and so do you have, like you surrendered and kept moving forward, doing the steps and not looking at the book? Was there some other things that you still did while surrendering? Does that make sense?
I just went about my work every day, just knowing that it was going to happen. Here's the thing about surrendering, or commonly known as letting go. All right. Most people think they let go, but they don't. They don't. When you let go and you surrender, because every fiber in your being is going to cry out. And so a lot of, clients over the years, oh yeah, I let go of this. I said, well, that's good, but did you really let go? Just like the woman 2 weeks later is still thinking, about the person who said something to her, or, the
It's still
person
the
at work says
story.
something, right? You're still thinking about it. You're
Right,
still mentioning it, right?
right, right.
So you didn't let that go. You didn't let it go. So when you take your whole physical self and you like surrender to a higher power, there's no doubt in your mind that you didn't give it up, all of you, and know who you are, that this energy being, is going to go on forever. I mean, oh, I may leave the planet someday. I'm sure I will,
As we all
uh,
do.
but I'm going somewhere else, and I know this. I know that, that's not the end for me. That's just another journey I'm going to take. So, giving all this physical world up, so to speak, and all the people around you and everything that happens, and it does because we're human. You letting that go is probably one of the greatest. In fact, to me, it's the utmost thing that you can do to raise your vibration is
Mm.
to let it go, no matter what, no matter what. But he said, and she said, and they did this. Yeah, okay,
Next.
let it go, let it go.
Like Elsa
And
in that beautiful song, Let It Go, Let It Go.
exactly, yeah. There's a book called Letting Go by David Hawkins, and it's so good, because it speaks of vibration and it gives you the levels of what that means, from everything from shame and guilt to a Christ vibration. And not too many people meet that, not in this world, but it's it's the practice of just kind of moving up, and once you get to that 200, that's your place where you have courage to do it.
Mm.
So when you're in that 200 frame, you're like kind of really moving up the ladder because now you've acquired courage to look at it, to be aware of it, all those things. And that gives you that a little more, a little higher vibration, a little higher vibration. You may not reach the 600, or you may, but most people don't, because it would take an immense Jesus effort to do that. So whatever it is, but it's a really great. I tell everybody read that book, read it and see what you think, but it's a very positive, um, it's a positive book about how you can do that. And he takes each one of those vibrations and explains them, how they kind of deal with in the real world. So
And that was Letting Go by David Hawkins.
yeah,
Okay, just
his
want to
name
make
is
sure I
David
had.
Hawkins.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
yeah, there's there's a wonderful world out there if people want to tap into it, and they can change their world so easily if they do. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. That's the thing. It just takes awareness and saying, you know, I think I'm gonna look at myself, and I think I'm gonna try to subtract all of this stuff that I've been carrying around with, because so many people show me that I still need work to do, right?
Yeah.
And it is so wonderful because the more you clear it up, then the less people come into your life to show you. That's the golden nugget. And all of a sudden the people that are around you are friendly and loving and kind and generous, all of that. So it's a pretty significant thing, to do that. And that goes across the board, your personal relationships, your workplace, your business, all of that. It all gets impacted. So yeah, I just say just do it like Nike, just do it. Right?
Just do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Take the action, do the thing. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything more that has crossed your heart that you would like to share?
No, I think, in these 3 videos, we've shared an awful lot
You did.
of, whatever it is.
Our
And
nuggets.
yeah, and thank you. You're so special, to be a part of that, and to be a part of my life right now. So, it's very rewarding, to have that happen. So I feel very blessed with it. And I hope you much success, in your platform of, the worthiness group, and the women that are in there, they're going to gain a lot just by listening, by sharing, all of that. So, continued success with all of that. And I'll be around.
I'm so thankful. And I was sharing actually on Sunday how there's a number of founders that Sundays will not be available because of schedules. Yet there's so many more people like in the wings, like, in the
Mhm.
in the space that may not
Right.
be live or on video and all those things, yet that support system, the encouragement, the space that we all have. And my hopes, my vision is that it is a sacred space for those who are looking for, personal development, all the different, whatever their need is, they come and they find it, they get it, and then some. And then eventually, my hopes are to be able to do events because I do believe that what I really enjoyed over the years was having some events to look forward to and going in person to physically squeeze somebody that I knew was okay with a squeeze, you know?
Right.
And that
Yeah,
like,
that's nice.
so that will be added. I'm working on foundational support here first and then working my way
Okay.
through the process and
And and here's the thing, it is a sacred space.
Mhm.
It is. There's no doubt about that. Anytime people come together, what do they say, two or more?
You're more there together.
Anytime that happens, it's a sacred space, especially when you're talking about awareness and helping, and, being able to share some of the things that people share. It's a very sacred space for people to do that. So yeah, never doubt that it's not a sacred space, because it is.
So
So
thankful.
yeah, it'll be wonderful. It'll be
So
wonderful.
excited.
And I'm only teaching till, end of December. So then I'll be more available to be on the video. So
Yay, and
yeah.
maybe we can do a video like this, where I come see you and we can do it, so we're not sharing the screens and we'll be together like this. So maybe that can
Mm,
be our next goal.
yeah, that'll be great.
That'd be awesome.
So all right.
Charlotte, would you mind if I ended in prayer?
No.
Awesome. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this space. Thank you for this opportunity to share Charlotte in her incredible journey and all that she has endured to give so many inspiration in those spaces to ask, allow, and receive. these spaces that she shared, that she has surrendered and led by example and given us ways to acknowledge our presence and what we have before us in ourselves, and being able to see in her journey what an incredible heart she has to serve in any space she is given, and that in the energy she's given out, the blessings that she's received in so many ways. Let it be a light for those who are tapping into and igniting their light and being inspired by her actions, her steps, her bravery, and the courage she has to keep going, take those steps, even though it's been challenging, yet acknowledging you for this incredible divine chance that we all have here on earth, and then some, the opportunities that we all have. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And
Thank
so,
you. All right. I'll see you soon.
thanks, love.
Okay. Have a
Mhm.
good day.
You too.
Okay.